Hey everybody, this is Grace, and pardon the way I'm doing this video, but this is the way I've been doing them, most of them, during the pandemic. And today is November 19th, 2020. Okay, I'm saying the date because I'm not sure when. I had made a video, and I'm not sure what date, but it was probably when it all started, came about. This part of it was about a month ago. And after that, but anyway, this is going to be about when people feel like, or that they're the type that when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. Okay, that whole out of sight, out of mind thing. And I remember hearing that when I was very young, a young kid. And you know, the kind that are also a bit of fair weather friends. And it can be family, friends, people you date, or a person you dated, you know, the whole ghosting thing. Could be anybody, really, that you know. And this one, I made a video, like I said, and I don't remember when it was, and I think I uploaded it, and I got really far behind on, you know, I would upload the videos, but because of the Wi-Fi issues, it's been difficult for me to make them public, because I go back and listen to them, put in tags, and, you know, put a thumbnail and titles and all that. And it's just, I've been doing good to upload them, really. But I have gotten some out over that time, but just not enough. I had wound up one day, counted them, and it was 51. So, that I had not yet made public. So anyway, but I don't know if I will, because it's one of those situations where some, you know, I could even look at it and say what I'm doing, because as a result, could be like playing games, but it really isn't. And I need to find out, where is this taking me, that I chose to just continue. And let me try to explain that a little bit. So anyway, now this goes back to like dysfunctional families, you know, back to my childhood. So I'll make it brief, this part. This is a new video. If I do make that one public, I need to make this one. But basically, I really had moved around a lot after I turned 18. I moved around, moved to different states. I got married at age 18, moved around different states, lived in different town, city. You know, back then, it wasn't the cell phone kind of days. It was, you know, every long distance phone call was, you paid a price for it, and I was young and didn't have all that much money to do so. And, you know, a lot of people back then wrote letters, and, you know, and you would think other people would call you, but it wasn't that way for me. Really, it wasn't that way. It was usually me, the one having to make phone calls. I would write the letters. I would not hear from them hardly ever, very seldom. And it was kind of one of those things like, you know, back then they didn't have all this information out about dysfunctional families, about narcissistic people, histrionic people, any of those cluster Bs, anything like that. There just wasn't that much information. And I did the thing of getting married first, and then started attending, you know, college, university. A little bit later, I was a career student. My degrees are in psychology and sociology, but still, it wasn't. There was so much you have to learn, so much that there is not just a focus on personality disorders. So the information just wasn't like what you can get today. You can go on and hear people's stories. It wasn't there. There was no internet and all that. I mean, anybody around my age, I'm 57, they know that. So you're kind of like on your own back then, trying to figure things out, and you're not going to figure them out by the people you're around if they are that way. You know, they're hiding it. They don't even know. Who knows? Who knew back then? But, you know, for a long time, like, I moved around, I was like, why are they like that? Maybe they're just busy with their lives. But I do think, you know, I might be rewriting history, but it was a long time ago. But I do think, you know, part of me knew, you know, they were the out of sight, out of mind kind. You know, that whatever they were doing in their lives there, you know, they didn't have time for anybody they grew up with, whether it was family or friends, you know, like best friends kind of thing. And there's also this, that as years went by, I realized more that they, these, not all of them, okay, this is not all of the people, but the bad ones, Yeah, those are the ones I'm talking about. The bad ones. I'm not talking about the good ones, but the bad ones. I'm separating them. Because so they were good. They weren't all bad. But, they were also the type, if they couldn't use you, like I was saying, they couldn't use you or they couldn't benefit somehow. Or like if I did make a phone call, all they wanted to do was talk about themselves, what's going on in their life. They didn't want to, that's the type, like one of them described about another one and they were both that way. It was like, I call her and all she does is talk about herself, but she won't let me get a word in edgewise. She says she has to go suddenly. And that was the same way that woman that said that was. It wasn't me included in there, but there were two women, and they were the same way. It had to be all about them. I can remember lots of things like, writing letters and stuff, and there would be a letter come back, eventually, maybe, who knows how long, once a year, maybe, holidays. It was all about them, no question about how are you doing, anything like that. And mine would say, how are you doing, and say something about what they had said in theirs, something about their lives. But it was just never equal. It was like that total unbalance there. And that can really, to me, it did, to me, I can't say that for everybody, none of this is 100% across the board. It never is. My situation's mine, okay? It's not going to be the same for anybody else. But for me, it really did mess with my head because I was one that was out there moving around, and making friends when you're moving around is not that easy. Sometimes it was just a quick move, but making friends, meeting people, not easy. And wasn't then, isn't now. So for me, and I'm admitting this, for me, that those old associations were important. That I would hear from them every once in a while. That they would, somebody would call me, and my mother, she suffered from postpartum depression after she had me. She had one more kid after me, but she had 5 altogether. Now she suffered that after me. She never got over it. She never saw me as some, in any way. I think twice altogether, maybe 3 times in my whole life. And she passed away about 6.5 years ago. But anyway, she would call me and to see if I had heard from any of the other ones because she couldn't reach them. That's why she would call me. The only times. And it was like, wow, She wouldn't ask, about what was going on with me, nothing. It was, with the people I'm talking about, it was never anything about me. It was all about them. And the sad thing is that, some of the ones, like, who are not like that, they get drawn in by that type. And they're just, they're the flying monkeys, really, when it comes down to it. But anyway, as far as mine is, over the years, I've really lost contact with pretty much everybody. Once I started to realize more and more about how this all works, it wasn't that I lost contact, it was that I shut off contact. But in some, when I was younger, it was that of losing contact. It's one of those out of sight, out of mind kind of things. And, I would try to keep the relationship, talk, I think normal people, and I felt myself was normal except for the anxiety that I had because of them, panic. I actually had panic disorder. And I could see it was because of them. It was because of the abusive behaviors. And as I aged, realizing it more and more, I don't have those. But it was also, medication, but it was for diabetes. And I'm not going into that. Don't take my word on it. It's not like it's going to fix you. So, but a lot of things in my life changed when I, really started to realize all these people that I knew and everything. And you will hear this. People who grew up in like narcissistic families, dysfunctional families with narcissistic people in them, it becomes their norm that they don't realize what it is, for one, but they wind up picking people or getting in relationships with people that they don't realize at first are this way. And it's just lather, rinse, repeat. And it definitely was for me. Okay, like I said, that's not a focus, and it wasn't then a total focus on personality disorders. I mean, we may have read in a textbook as an undergraduate, read in a textbook a little paragraph about narcissism, like a little paragraph, and that was it, because there was so much else to learn. And that's what gets me about one of the things about these people who said that because they've experienced it, therefore, they can be life coaches and stuff for helping people in narcissistic abuse. You don't have that background. If you don't have those degrees, don't get me started on that. So, okay. So anyway, I mean, there was an issue of, me having moved around so much that I really did not make any friends. The people that I did meet, I had made a friend here and there, but I had moved around so much I didn't, and not much before I had to move again, or not had to, but did move again. And then when I would return home, and as I mentioned in videos, there was one, Annie, I nicknamed her, gave her a student name, Annie. She just tried, behind my back, she had destroyed all my attachments there. The people I had attachments with, systematically. Even just, just like neighbors, anybody, to where nobody, treated me like, they treated me like I was a, bad person. And I always wondered why, this kind of thing, what the world, I haven't even been here in a long time, and you're treating me this way, and, these kinds of things. So, and like I'm 57, I've had a lot of adult life away from there, but it was still, there were so many, and like I said, I was a career student, and the colleges and universities, it wasn't like, I was non-traditional aged, that's what they called it back then, non-traditional age student, and it wasn't like, making friends. I did live in a dorm for one semester when I switched to a different university. I lived in a dorm. I had 2 friends, real close friends, that I made there, but that was just that semester. And one of them was from Japan, and she went back. We remained friends for a while, but she had moved back, and life went on. And another one was, she was an older woman. She was younger than I am now. But, we kept in touch with letters, and then, it kind of trailed off. But, yeah, I mean, if I was in a situation where you could, and where living in a big city, it's not all that. Even if you go to church, or, I can't say too much about churches. Oh, I can tell stories. But it just isn't like that in cities. That's why I always had wanted to move back when I was around this age, move to a small town. But trying to find a good, decent one, I don't know. I don't know about that. But anyway, I don't know how I got on that roll. Okay, and I haven't even mentioned this one, but basically, where I started off with this, I had to give some background and ramble a little bit. But I basically, I'm not a person to tell, like, I'm talking about family from my childhood, my family of origin, extended family of origin, this kind of thing, extended family. And I'm not one to tell them. I'm not one to, like right now, I have a Facebook page that they're on there, and people I went to school with, some of them, and all this kind of thing. People I don't even know, but probably knew their parents. All that, and my 2 best old friends. Well, and other ones that weren't really that close, but like I said, people in school with this kind of thing. And I'm not one to put up there that this happened to me or that happened to me. I started trying to do that because I know that's a problem with me, is I don't talk much about myself on with anybody I know. Seriously, doing these videos, this is unusual for me, and I've been doing them for 6 years. But it's really been helpful because I can vent. Because as my experience in the past with people, these kinds of people, they didn't want to hear anything about my life. It was all about them. They only wanted to talk about their own lives. And I still had all that within me of, not being able to share my life. That's really what it came down to. not being able to share my experiences, my life experiences. And let me tell you, theirs were dull and boring. I mean, they could go on and on about a trip to the laundromat for hours, this kind of thing. That was so dull and boring. There was nothing that happened except you did your laundry. But they were that type, like as soon as I start to say, well, they had to go, they were busy, they had to go. So really, I did not get out what was going on with me. All those moves I made, all the places I saw, all the places I went to, nobody knew except me and, Adam, who was with me. But that was how it was. Because they only were concentrating on themselves. My goodness, every time I come out here, I have a coughing, sneezing fit because I have allergies. And here it is, November 19th, and my SUV and Adam's SUV is just covered with pollen. I saw a bee out here yesterday buzzing around. Yeah, kind of strange. But anyway, back to this. As I said, I do my videos this way. Well, I can tell you, I got online 1990, and I started chatting with people online. People online back then, 1990, think it's not anything like now. But that's whenever, I could say things about myself, but I wasn't one to really, back then it was more just chatting with people, like that. But it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe late 1990s, or maybe mid 1990s. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But I did start doing what, they had different names. Online journal, online diaries, on blogs, different names they call them, all these things, And they're really quite different, each one of them. But, and then, people would read, and it was more that they were actually, would comment about what I went through and stuff like that. That was very different for me in my life, seriously. It was just odd. It was different, I still have a little bit of an issue when people leave me comments, and it's not just about them. It's about mine. Still, because I'm so used to people. I was so used to people who really, it was all about them. They didn't care. They just want. I don't even like leaving comments, especially if I have to say, I feel like saying I can relate to this, because it feels like I'm doing like they were doing. Or it might be something I can totally relate to. But I usually don't leave comments either. So, yeah, my comments are very brief as it is. But anyway, so that was something that, helped me. Now, when I was a kid, at age 10 at least, I was keeping a paper diary. So then whenever I was 10, one of my cousins and a little girl at church, at a different church, we became pen pals, old-fashioned pen pals, snail mail pals, whatever you want to call it. And then when I was in high school, there was something that one of my friends found, and we had pen pals or something. It was a thing, and that went on. And then there was somebody I knew, and later on in university, college. And that was kind of the norm, was the letter writing thing. And then that eventually, like I said, in 1990, it more moved to online. But as I said, the letter writing and stuff, it was far too often anybody was about what's going on with them. They didn't want to hear about me. They just want to talk about themselves. And not everybody, but like I said, I'm pointing out the ones that did. Anyway, it was still, even though I've gotten used to, I can do videos like this. I've been doing them for 6 years, starting with my original channel was 6 years ago. And I can talk about myself. It's believe it or not, it is difficult. It's not that easy. It's gotten easier. Usually at first I wouldn't, but eventually I did. And anyway, that it helps. It does. Because the people that I know, they don't want to hear anything about me. Like I said, it's all about that. I can call, being real, call when things are good, call when things are bad for me. They're going to turn the conversations around to them. Like an old friend, my oldest friend. She will turn it around to talking about herself Totally. She doesn't call. None of them call me. Well, I did go no contact with certain people. So they wouldn't be contacting me. But I do wonder, do they even have my phone number? But there has been contact because of certain things, these family members and all that, that there are certain things that have to be discussed over the phone, Blue Moon or online on that Facebook thing. And, but in that video, the one that I started talking about at the beginning, I mentioned that I never said anything about me feeling that I really had COVID-19 back in February. I never mentioned to any of these friends, family from past, never mentioned it. And that's more my style, is not to mention with the people I know these things. And I really don't know why, but I really don't. I just don't do it. And it could be, I really don't know. So I could make up stuff, but I really don't know. But then I'm one of those, I think, that's called a long hauler. Mine was very mild. I can say that, but I was pretty much knocked out for I don't know how long. But I'm a long hauler. And then not recently, but about a month ago or so, I got used to having symptoms that come back and they go away and all that. But this time in October, like a month or so ago, it was a little different. And it's still mild. It was still mild, but I also had a paper cut. I don't know how I did it. Maybe it was on my gum in the front, and it was a little bit red. I thought maybe this is what was causing me to have a very low grade fever, very low. And I bought a new thermometer. That one was mercury, and this one's digital. And isn't it mercury? But digital, and it told me I did not have a fever. So anyway, I couldn't find my other digital one, but so I don't know. But I wrote on that Facebook that I said, why do I keep all this stuff to myself? Why do I not talk about things? I mean, I had mentioned when I had got this new SUV. I got it May of last year. It just barely has it's 3,028 miles on it because of the pandemic. Don't get to drive around much. But I mentioned that, and wait, Adam, it was, I'm losing my voice again. But when Adam got his, I think a year or two before then, and I mentioned it, one of my siblings decided that one of my sisters decided that she needed to say that she got a new one right that moment. And yeah, and stuff like that would happen. So, but anyway, it's like whenever I would say something about me, in other words, these people, this type, they would turn it back around to them. They had to be the one and have, the center of attention. I call it narcissistic histrionic blend of behaviors that I've seen in my life. I'm not diagnosing them. Some of them were diagnosed from an actual professional, by counselor, or whomever, psychiatrist, and for one, I know, but with borderline personality disorder. But anyway, I know more than one person it was, but this whole thing, and it was, so I wondered, why do that? So I did put it up there, that I had a low-grade fever, was kind of worried, and I made put it up there. Then I said, I think I'd already had it back in February. And who responded was a guy that I dated many, many years ago. And he just said, something like, get well, or hope you're okay, something like that. And then it was my first friend, my first ever friend, which we weren't friends after that, but we were friends in kindergarten or first grade, something like that. And then I think another one or two, and one of my friends' mother, she commented. Okay, all these other people, not a comment at all. Nothing. Family, nothing. I was like, wow, and there was no intention of that. of them wanting them to, but I was just thinking to myself, why don't I ever do that? Really. I did also one time before. I started doing it this year. Finally mentioning stuff about me. Except for that one time when I got the 2 new automobiles. That's it. In 15 years of having that, however long I've had that, 10 years maybe more. I don't know. How long has Facebook been around? But I've had it a long time. And not mention anything about myself. That's bad. There's some people that's all they talk about is themselves, and then there's me. People like me, who seldom ever do. So, anyway, but you get the gist. And the people who notice were not the people I'm closest to. The friend's mother, yeah, I knew her, but I really haven't seen her in, many years. So, they responded, other people responded really fast. But the people I'm talking about, no, did not respond at all. Okay, siblings, family members, not just siblings, family members, friends, maybe they had blocked me, and I'm not just saying one generation either. Maybe they just turned off, they didn't want to see mine. I never hardly ever posted. I hardly ever got on it. Okay, and when I would post, I would just it wouldn't be anything about me. It would be like a little meme or something, a little cute cartoon or something like that, or just have a nice day. How are you all doing? That kind of thing. But it was like one thing in like a month or two. Okay, so these people did see it. Now, these other ones, did they see it? So I thought about that night, and I just kind of shut it down. And like I said, I hardly ever get on it. And the next day I decided to check it again. They still hadn't commented. Okay, nothing, no acknowledgement. I thought, that is pretty bad. But then the whole situation, you heard the whole video. This is a long one. But you see what I'm saying? It was still, maybe I need to make another video for the rest of it because this is getting so long. But there's so much, and I'm losing my voice, so much attached to it that, these kind of situations can make you feel like you're going back in time to becoming less mature. And, so much more. And it does show a side of people that in my life, to me, that I already knew. They're not that great of people. That's why I went no contact with them. And maybe it's like, I was thinking earlier today, it's like that was the last little bit I had to go through. That I wanted to put myself through. But subconsciously, I wasn't doing it on purpose, that I know. But subconsciously, as people call it, I did. Just to prove to myself, okay, it's time to totally walk away. You've done the work of going no contact. You've pretty much, all these years, stayed away from them. But now it's time to say total goodbye. And that's not easy. Okay, like I said, I'm losing my voice, and there's much more to it. I'll talk to you on another video.